Well, hello there.
Hello.
All right, so before we move forward with anything, I got to get some NBA playoffs talk off my chest. Um, I have been so enjoying the playoffs this year. We've got some great storylines. I love my UK players in the NBA. So,
They're balling out.
yeah, man, we got four teams left at this point. Things will have changed by the time this airs. We're shooting this on Thursday, the 17th of September. But 2 days ago, we had the Clippers get knocked off by the Nuggets. My guy Jamal Murray crushing it, dropped 40 on supposedly the best defender in the league, Kawhi Leonard. Can we please, don't anybody ever try to tell me Kawhi is the best player in the league again? Not once, not never. Don't come at me with that garbage ever again. I've been trying to tell people all year that the Clippers were not going to win the title. All right, so Kawhi won the Finals MVP with the Spurs, which I get. He was a shutdown defender, guarding LeBron primarily. But he was not a top three player on his own team that year. You had Ginobili, Parker, and Timmy D for the Spurs. So impressive, yes. Argument for best player in the league, hardly. Last year, he won Finals MVP again. And yes, he was impressive last year. He hit that shot against Philly to knock them out. That was crazy. But they shouldn't have beat the Warriors in the finals because KD and Clay were hurt. And they still got taken, I think, 6 games without the 2 of the 3 best players on the Warriors. And yeah, so Kawhi won MVP of that, but in the elimination game, it wasn't him leading the way. Kyle Lowry came out firing, and Freddie VanVleet came out firing. People act like the Raptors are garbage. The Raptors are a good team. The year before Kawhi got there, they had the best record in the East. So they were already the number 1 seed before he even came. And this year, without him, they were the 2 seed behind Giannis, and they took the Celtics to 7 games. Like, don't come at me with that. Don't get me started on Marcus Morris. I cannot stand that man. Paul George, a.k.a. George Paul, a.k.a. Playoff P is trash. Pandemic P. Not trash, but he's got a history of coming up short in the playoffs. I like Lou Williams because he used to play on the Sixers when I lived in Philly, but Lemon Pepper Lou is his new nickname, and I love that.
He trademarked it. It's the best thing of all time. Literally going. He's the one that went to Magic City, right?
Yeah, man, he left the bubble to go to a strip club,
which is one of the best strip clubs in the entire world. I don't care who you like. If you're a strip club connoisseur like myself, then you have to go to Magic City. Oh my God, it is a spectacle. So Lemon Pepper Lou, I love it.
Great nickname. Absolutely great nickname. We got to let you tell your story about Magic City one day. We'll save that for another day.
Yeah.
Pat Beverly, probably one of my top 5 least favorite players in the league, along with Marcus Morris. Montrezl Harrell,
he's a beast. Yeah.
He played like garbage in this series. He got dominated by the Joker, bro. He averaged like 2 rebounds a game in the series against the Nuggets.
Wow.
So anyway, had to get that out of the way real quick. I'm so happy to see the Clippers lose. My money's still on the Lakers, of course, AD, and love seeing Rondo come back and be an impactful player. The Celtics have Cantor, but he's not getting any burn this year, and rightfully so. They've got some good bigs for their system ahead of him. And they got your boy Jason Tatum, so a little bit of Dookie representing in the Final Four here.
Yeah.
And then my bandwagon team in the East is definitely the Miami Heat. Pat Riley steering the ship. Tyler Hero balling out as a rookie.
Tyler Hero's really good.
He's a solid player.
He's really, really good. Yeah. Yeah.
And then my man Bam Adebayo. Woo! They will have played at least another game before this comes out. But that block, did you see that block in overtime he had?
Against Tatum? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Don't
saw
you come at Bam with that weak sauce.
I mean, his name is Bam, you know. So you better come correct if you're coming and you're trying to stuff one down on him. I mean, come on. His name is Bam. You're gonna get pinned. You're gonna get rejected. It's just what's gonna happen.
Man, I was so hyped to see that. So it's looking like, regardless of what happens, we're gonna have some cats on the title team this year. So, just wanted to throw that out there to get things started, get that out of the way. Man, I'm loving the NBA postseason this year.
It's been fun. It's been fun. Just nothing but basketball. You know, that's what I like. It's just basketball. They're just going out and playing. So it's definitely been a lot of fun to watch. I've been missing some games though. Just man, I've been so into what's going on in the UFC right now. Oh, this month is crazy. This month is so crazy. There's so many big matchups. Huge card this weekend. Oh man, I can't wait.
So
I can't
wait to talk about the results from that one, which we won't do one this week because there's a pay-per-view coming up weekend after this one with Costa and Adesanya. So if you're into the UFC and you like our recaps, stay tuned. We'll be dropping that the 28th or the 29th of September here, doing a recap of pretty much all the events in September. So stay tuned for that. I'm excited. Yeah, man, like you said, this upcoming weekends, which is previous weekend by the time this airs, probably the best non-pay-per-view card of the year, without doubt, actually.
Yeah, 100%.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then another great pay-per-view coming up with Adesanya and Costa. So great time to be a UFC fan for sure.
Truly is.
But there is something extremely relevant going on right now. I am not super knowledgeable about this, and I know it's something that you watched, and I'm really curious to hear your take on this. So cancel Netflix is trending.
Yes.
We've got this I guess movie, documentary, whatever you want to call it, called Cuties. Like I said, I haven't seen it. I know you have, and you know you've got some opinions on this, so we'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you run with it, baby.
Yeah, so first off, before anyone gets it twisted, the only reason why I watch this is so I could absolutely obliterate it on YouTube, on our podcast, just to have one more voice out there speaking against what I just witnessed. It's ridiculous and it's disgusting. Hey, Darth Vader. And as I was doing a little bit of research on it, I found out. Okay, so number one, if you go to Wikipedia right now, okay, and for those people who don't know, this is a French film, okay, and it is described as 2020 French coming of age drama film. A coming of age drama.
What does
film.
Coming of age mean exactly? That sounds like just some kind of fluff that doesn't really mean anything.
To me, whenever I hear coming of age, I instantly think like cutting edge, like brand new, like, hey, this is a trend. You know, like you need to have eyes on this because, you know, if you don't get on this bandwagon or if you don't get on this, you know, train, you know, you're going to miss it basically. Also, I found out that over 700 girls, okay, little girls, because that's what this movie is about, is children, okay? Over 700 girls audition for this film. That means, so obviously that's a big number, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't think of that exactly. What I think of is the parents behind those 700 girls literally let their daughters, their little children, try out for or audition for this movie. That's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. So the plot basically revolves around a very conservative young girl. She's which I have not heard of this, as Senegalese. She's from
Yeah,
Senegal. I didn't.
she's from Senegal. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know that was the. That's sweet. Anyway, she's a Senegalese French girl with traditional Muslim upbringing, who was caught between traditional values and internet culture. And according to the filmmakers, the film is intended to criticize the hypersexualization of pre-adolescent girls. And in my opinion, this film, its intention was to promote it. And this is coming from France. Okay, this is first time director. Okay, and it's directed by a female, which I didn't know until I started diving into it after I'd already seen the film, which also is just like, that's a head scratcher. Okay, and the way that this thing is shot, like the way that this thing is filmed is absolutely ridiculous. I'll dive more into it. Also didn't know this, another ridiculous thing. And before I get ahead of myself, European film, okay, culture's different, right? But then after I looked into it, it actually was selected for competition in the 2020 Sundance Film Music Festival. And for those of you who don't know, Sundance is in the States. It's in Utah, okay? And it was submitted on the 23rd of January, and the director won a directing award at an American film festival. The director of this movie won an American award. That goes to show you how screwed up Hollywood is, okay?
So what? Give me a plot synopsis here. Take me through
Okay.
yeah. What? So they say that they want to like shed a light on these things that are going on,
Right. But if
but
you
they
actually
end up kind of glorifying it. Yeah.
100%, yeah. And what they show is ridiculous. Like, it should, I even have in my note, like, it actually should be illegal. Okay. So again, it follows a main character, Amy or Ami, right? And to me, after she finds out that her father has started to run around and on her mother, she starts to rebel. She begins to rebel. Okay. So the first
How old is this girl?
So in real life, the age range is 11 to 13, and at the time they filmed this, she is 11. She's
Okay.
11 years old. Okay. And because it's a foreign film, there was a dub over. Okay.
As in, like, they were speaking French when they
exactly,
filmed it. So,
but
okay,
they were yeah, exactly, but they were using American voices, or English. So they use voices of, okay, that's absolutely ridiculous. These girls are 11 years old. Okay, 16 to 18 that's young to begin with. Okay, 18, you're a legal adult in the United States still. 16, that's what the voices sounded like to me. Okay, and there's a huge difference between an 11-year-old sounding voice and a 16 to 18-year-old sounding voice. It's pretty obvious, in my opinion. Okay,
really, it's that bad.
It's that bad. It's absolutely that bad. So that's number one. Okay, that's number one. Absolutely disgusting. Okay. It shows the main character again, Ami. She steals a friend of the family who is doing like work on the home and just kind of just like handyman type things around the house. She steals his iPhone and is immediately on social media. Okay. Then she starts to befriend this group of girls after she sees basically the leader of the group in her same apartment building. She just so happens to pass by, and this girl, she's obviously a Spanish girl. She's dancing to Spanish music, and she's just simply doing some laundry, but she's dancing around to the Spanish music. Okay, and Ami, the main character, is just kind of like in awe of this. Okay, you can already see she's totally infatuated of like this girl's moving, like she's dancing, she's moving her hips, whatever. And again, she comes from a very, very conservative family. So she begins to befriend this group of girls. And one of the scenes, it shows them peer pressuring her to go into, and again, she's stolen this iPhone, right? Okay, so she's already stolen something. Great example. So she takes this iPhone into the boys' bathroom after getting talked into it and tries to snap a pic of another boy's penis. And it was the brother of one of the girls, of one of the characters. They wanted to see it. Again, 11-year-old children. That's what this film is showing. Ridiculous. Then there is actual underage nudity in this film. Actual underage nudity, okay? And I had heard chatter about this, and I'm like, no way, because this is the States. There's absolutely no way, even if there's a big cultural difference, okay? And a lot of people that are debating this online are saying, well, this is a French film, and a lot of European countries, the age of consent is 15 to 16 years old in various countries. And, I've been to many other countries. I've never traveled over to Europe, and I can definitely agree there's vast cultural differences, okay, between the United States and other countries. But at the end of the day, these are children that we are talking about. These are 11-year-old children. This can never be acceptable, ever, 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 okay, ever. And there is a scene in the movie where this rival dance group, okay, this rival dance group, which you can automatically tell whenever you see them, they're watching a video on their phone of one of their routines, and you can automatically tell that they're a little bit older, but still minors, at least in this country, and I would say between 15 and 16 years old, maybe 14 and 16 years old, these girls, okay, still very, very young. And they've got also a provocative dance scene, right? But at the end of the dance scene, they're all giggling and shit, right? And one of the girls actually lifts up and exposes one of her breasts.
And they kept that in the movie?
They kept that in the movie. I was in total disbelief. I mean, you can easily see this whenever they're watching this dance routine. And these girls literally look at themselves and they're like, "Oh, dang." And it's almost like the look on their faces was almost like they were all in agreement that, like, "Oh, dang, we need to step up our game." Like, that's the way this film is portrayed. It's ridiculous. Like, oh, dang, if they're showing nudity, then we need to step up our game. That's how ridiculous this is. Again, I believe this is to promote pedophilia, and it's not to what do they say again? The intentions were to criticize the hypersexualization of pre-adolescent girls. Yeah, no, I don't agree with that. To me, it is to promote it. Absolutely disgusting.
How do they
then there's another scene.
Okay, so yeah, keep going.
Well, sorry. Yeah, there's another scene, okay, where the girls are starting to build a bit of rapport with each other, okay. And again, the main character continues to practice her dance moves, things like that. Then she starts to teach the other girls a little bit of her own routine, and she's one thing I found strange is really, really strange, and it could be total coincidence, but I found it very strange because a couple of the moves, maybe like 3 to 4 moves that this Ami, the main character, is teaching these girls. And again, this film was released in 2020, okay, this year.
Yeah,
Now,
it just came out like a week ago, right?
Well, it was released in, let's see, January. So it premiered at Sundance on the 23rd of January. and this is something that is, I haven't heard anyone talk about this, but the choreography is dead on. And this is really, really weird. Also sickening. So Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion, they've got their song WAP, right? Have you seen the video? Have you seen the dance routine? Okay. So some of the moves that the main character in this movie, Cuties, is doing, again, which was released before WAP, because this premiered at Sundance in Utah on the 23rd of January. Some of the moves that this little girl, this 11-year-old girl, is showing her friends in this film, the choreography is exact in WAP with Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B. If you don't believe me, go back and look it up. It's exact. So I found that really interesting that like, whoa, wait a minute, like Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion stole moves from a movie that basically is promoting pedophilia. That's really strange to me. It was really, really strange to me.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Really strange, yeah. So that's something that not a lot of people are talking about, that I made the instant connection. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, whoa, like, what's the timeline of this? Because that's Cardi B's move. Everyone's doing that on TikTok right now. Everyone. Like, what is going on here? Really, really strange. So it goes on. It even gets worse. So then the girls, they're elated, right? Because they just nailed their routine. So then they sneak into a laser tag facility. Okay. They're just running around the place, just being kids, right? But they're just disrupting a bunch of things. Then a security guard catches them, brings them to the head security guard as they're about to get kicked out. And then once the girls realize that they're not going to get let go and they want to call their parents to get them in trouble, to get them to come pick them up, the girls start dancing seductively for these grown men. And they continue to, and you can see it's obvious that the head security guard is a pedophile. And dude, I'm not even gonna imitate the face that he makes. But he literally was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, you know what? You guys are good. You can go. And he lets them free.
What?
It literally shows these children seducing these grown men to get themselves out of trouble.
11-year-olds.
11-year-olds. Okay? There's more. Dude, the way that they were, okay, again, like the way that it was filmed, like the way that it was shot, okay, would it to me, whenever I was seeing it, like the dancing sequences, like throughout the film, I'm like, okay, that's a hip hop music video. Like that's an adult hip hop music video. It was zooming in shots of their private parts. It was pausing on them. It was showing very little of their face. It was panning left to right and showing very little of their face. And as each one stepped up and then had their own solo routine within the group sequence, it would zoom in on their private parts. And of course they were twerking. It was a hip hop, like these little kids, right? It was a hip hop routine. So the way that it was shot, again, no, their intentions were not to criticize the hypersexualization. To me, in my opinion, their intentions were to promote it. And I'll go on and tell you more about how ridiculous Hollywood is, which we already know Hollywood is messed up. We already know there's tons of pedophilia in Hollywood. There's tons of rape. There's tons of sexual abuse, sexual assault. Hollywood is messed up, okay? We already know that. But the proof is right here in the stats, too. So I think what really did it for me, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this film, is the main character, again, Ami. The guy that she, again, like the family friend who was the handyman, the guy that she stole the iPhone from, okay, he catches her with the iPhone, all right? And of course he's pissed. He takes it from her. Then she's throwing a fit, okay, just like a little kid would. She's screaming, yelling, give it back, give it back. And he's like, no, this is mine. Like, what are you talking? Like, you took this from me.
Yeah.
So to get it back, or to attempt to get it back, she starts to dance seductively, and she starts to take her clothes off. And the guy grabs her by the arm. He's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? He's like, disgusted, of course. He's like, what the heck? Like, what are you thinking? Like, what are you thinking? And then she really quickly, she just snatches the iPhone, runs to her room, locks herself in the room. And this is where I'm just like, dude, if Netflix doesn't cancel this, like, what the hell is our culture doing? What are we doing? So he's beating on the door, like, I'm not leaving until you give me my phone back. Now I know where my phone is. Give me my phone back. It shows her taking off her bottoms and snapping a pic of her vagina and uploading it to social media.
Ew.
Now, it doesn't show that, but I mean, it obviously, you can tell exactly what she's doing. And then, let's just pause on that for a minute. Let's just pause on that. Dude, like, I have little nieces. That is disgusting. Like, the people who allowed this to get on Netflix, dude, how are they not being crucified right now?
And meanwhile, there's a cameraman sitting there watching this whole thing.
And there's a whole crew, and the director was a woman. She won an award in Utah at Sundance for directing this.
So one thing I'm really struggling with is how, like, what is their justification for saying that it's any sort of critique? Like, where does the critique come into play?
I have no idea. I cannot defend this film for one moment. I mean, there's not one moment. I mean, I guess they were trying to show how easily corrupted kids can get on social media, how children have no idea or no sense of reality or consequence on what they post and the amount of people that can see it. Because after that scene, she returns to school the next day, and then everyone is just eyes locked on her. Of course, kids, going nuts, guys, boys, little boys coming up, making a pass because, they're like, well, she's putting herself out there, so they're going to make a pass, right? And she's ridiculed, bullied, picked on, and I believe she gets kicked out of school. At this point, I was just trying to scoot through the film as fast as I could. But
for the picture?
For the picture, yeah. Yeah. And then her group of friends are kind of like, what were you doing? Kick her out of the group, whatever. They're disgusted. Let me read this real quick. Again, this is on Wikipedia. While receiving generally positive reviews from critics, the film and the marketing campaign by Netflix became a subject of controversy and politicized backlash, receiving widespread criticism online. Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Some groups and politicians claimed that it sexualizes young girls. You think? And several American politicians, as well as Turkish Radio and Television Supreme Council, requested Netflix remove the film, which is totally justified. Like, it should have never, ever been put on Netflix. I mean, it should have never been made, in my opinion. This is absolutely disgusting. Now, let's go ahead and hit up IMDb. IMDb, and this is actually what's sickening, and I'm sure all the pedophiles in the United States and across the world are loving this film, you sick bastards. because when I first checked this about like 4 or 5 days ago, the rating was like a 1.2, I think. Now it's gone up to a 2.4 out of 10, 1 star. Let's head on over to Rotten Tomatoes. Again, absolutely sickening. The tomato meter, which is the critics, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. The critics scored this film an 89%. The critics, the media, Hollywood, people in film scored this an 89%. While the audience score, again, sickening because it's gone up. Whenever I first checked this was 2%. Okay, so days ago, this was 2% audience score. Now it's up to 12%. Still one of the lowest scores I've ever seen on Rotten Tomatoes. I was hoping it would stay at 2% and never rise, but child pedophilia is real and disgusting, so I knew it was probably going to rise. I just didn't think it was going to come up to 10 or 10 more percent to 12%. So absolutely ridiculous. And this thing is still on Netflix. It's still on Netflix. And what's crazy is if you're a little girl or a little boy, you can easily just scroll on Netflix, find this film, and how easily are you going to be influenced? What's going through your mind as an adolescent, as a child, really? What's going through your mind whenever they're exposed to this? Whenever they see, if you're an 11-year-old boy and you see these 11-year-old girls acting this way, man, children with such impressionable minds, when they see this, what are they thinking?
It's a lot to digest, man.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And I'm glad I waited a little bit, because at first it was going to be me on here just screaming at the top of my lungs and calling for a cancel of Netflix and just saying just a whole bunch of bad words. Dude, it
Because
just,
like when I first heard about the cancel Netflix and then kind of looked into it a little bit, like some of the pushback, well, immediately in my mind it's like, okay, well, there's shows like Dance Mom and like Cheer that make me super uncomfortable. Like, this is just another thing that's gross, that has zero appeal to me and isn't even on my radar. So like, I'm obviously not going to watch something like this in the first place. It's probably just another one of these things. But hearing the details that you described, like, this sounds like it's that on steroids, actually showing little girl nudity and promoting this like in an incredibly over sexualized way. Like, I'm really having a difficult time comprehending why that would be allowed, why they would be given an award for that. Like, what the hell?
2020 is the worst year, I think, probably of world history in a long, long time. In a long time, especially from a cultural aspect. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
wow.
talked about, impressionable mind. I can't imagine what it's like being a kid growing up in today's culture. Like, a lot of people have said, like, they're like, oh, if you think that movie is bad, go look at what your daughter is posting on TikTok or something like that. And like, TikTok grosses me the F out sometimes. Like, I see TikTok through my Instagram feed
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So like, or like in my explore on Instagram, that's what I get my exposure to. Like, it just shows a amalgamation of what your followers are watching.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'll be scrolling through and it's a lot of like basketball and UFC and running and stretching and philosophy, and then boom, it's like a 10-year-old girl doing like a strip dance. Like, what is going on?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, even so, this seems like it's even layers above that.
Yeah. Certainly.
Uh,
I know. I mean, it just it turned my stomach. I mean, it just. I honestly, I was sad. I was really sad after seeing it because I'm like, oh my god, like I said, man. I mean, I've got little nieces and nephews, man, and a few of them are around that age, and I'm just like I never want them to ever see something like this, ever, ever, ever. And if they were to see it, like, damn you people for creating this, like, damn you. And from a woman allowed this to happen. She directed the film. Like oh my gosh, man. It needs to be taken down immediately. It needs to be taken down immediately. And we need to flush this film in the toilet, forget about it, and move on. And not let this crap just completely warp the minds of our children in this country. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm more of a conservative person, but obviously I work in entertainment. I'm surrounded by liberals, and I don't really see myself as either party. And maybe that's just a conservative in me coming out, but I mean, really, we got to protect the kids. They're literally the future, not to be cliche and corny. They're literally the future. We have to protect the children. We have to. And we can't be letting stuff like this just become the norm in our culture. We cannot. Because if this type of thing starts to become the norm, dude, we're already going down a not so good road, right?
it's it
This just straightens the path to me.
it's
Shortens the
crazy to
path.
me because I mean you had Harvey Weinstein get busted, and then you had Jeffrey Epstein get arrested, and Ghislaine Maxwell and all that coming to light. And it seems like you would think that seeing these stories come to light would help put a stop to a culture that promotes this type of stuff. But it seems like increased it almost. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've seen in Kentucky, there's been a really bad problem with young girls going missing and
Mm-hmm.
getting abducted and just like taken into sex trafficking. Like Lexington, Louisville, I know, like in broad daylight, girls are getting abducted and thrown into a van or in the trunk of a car and like duct taped shut, like just disappearing.
Yeah, which to me seems so like that's like something out of a movie to me. Like, it's like obviously it is happening, but it just still seems so unreal. Just because it's not a main topic of discussion. How is this not? Like, that's absolutely crazy. These are helpless, innocent children getting abducted and, like you said, sex trafficked. And in regards to the ratings coming from the critics and them receiving an award, this film, to me, whenever I saw that, it made sense because I don't know if you've recently saw the news in California where they reduced the law of having a sex with a minor. So they reduced the sentencing. Or sorry, they didn't reduce the sentencing. The sentencing can and will remain the same. Can and will. But what they're doing is they are removing the sex offender list. So so for instance, and this is what's disgusting because they're allowing a 10-year difference in age. Okay. But the cap, I think, is the cap is like what is the cap? I'll have to go back and find this article, and we can cite it in the description, because people need to read this. Like, California is, dude, it's beautiful. I love California, but they are wacky, man. They are screwed up in the head out there. They're completely screwed up in the head.
So what you're saying is, as long as there's at most a 10-year difference, the legal age for consent has been lowered?
So, for instance, now, according to this new law, as long as it's consensual, a 24-year-old can have sex with a 14-year-old. Yes. A 15-year-old can have sex with a 25-year-old, and they can date as long as it's consensual without that person being listed on a sex offender list. If they're like, you know, if the parents find and they press charges, it's like, okay, well, yes, that, you know, this person may do time. Okay. So this person may go and do time, and they're saying, you know, they may or may not reduce. It will just depend on a case by case basis. So that person may still do time, but the sentences will be reduced. And on top of that, say a 25-year-old has sex with a 15-year-old, the parents are irate. They press charges. They go to court. In court, or after the sentencing, say he sentences the 25-year-old to 1 year in jail. He serves his time. During and after, he will no longer be listed on the sex offender list. That's the biggest part of the new law that just passed, is they're trying to remove people being on the sex offender list, because it is prohibiting them from finding jobs and careers.
So you're telling me, in the midst of a global pandemic where we don't have health coverage for people, where people are struggling economically, and we have failed to legislate any type of economic help recently, where in California, wildfires are ravaging the entire West Coast right now, instead of legislating things to mitigate those disasters, they're spending time making it easier for people to have sex with young kids.
Yes. The bill has already been passed. It just needs wet ink from the mayor or governor. Yeah.
Who the hell are these people? Like, oh my gosh.
That's who's running Hollywood. That's who's running California. You know, whenever Rogan and Joey Diaz joke about, you know, it's a 100% bailout of California, everyone leave the state. Like, there's a lot of people leaving California right now. And dude, yeah, I had heard that, and I'm like, no way. So I started doing the research, found a few articles. Yeah, it's 100%. It's real. It's real. Think about that. If you're a 25-year-old, you've already graduated from college, you're already into your career, hopefully, okay, and you're dating a 15-year-old sophomore in high school. You're able to go out, travel across the country, drink alcohol, join the military, do whatever, and you're dating a 15-year-old having consensual sex. But then the parents find out, take you to court, and basically you get a slap on the wrist. And you're not listed as a sex offender, because that would hurt you from getting a potential job, and that would prohibit you from growth in your future, et cetera, et cetera. Which, that is the truth. That is the truth. I do know people who have had run-ins and they're on the sex offender list. Once that happens, you're done. Good luck, buddy. And that already limits you to what jobs you can get. But
don't be out there having sex with little kids. How about that?
Exactly.
Like, there's your solution.
There's your solution. Exactly. Yeah. So now when you go back and you look at Cuties getting an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes from all the critics in Hollywood, doesn't that make sense now? That lines up perfectly.
I heard that there were people, and this is secondhand information, I didn't look into it at all, that were trying to get pedophilia listed as a sexual orientation.
And as a mental disorder, and as a mental disorder. So for instance, and instead, first of all, yes, people are trying. Yes, people are trying to get it as a sexual orientation. Okay, which is ridiculous. I mean, we can't even begin to talk about the idiocracy in that statement. Um, and also listing it as a mental disorder in hopes that, for instance, uh, what was it? Jeffrey Epstein, he would, instead of serving hard jail time because it's a mental disorder, he would go to a mental facility, mental hospital. He wouldn't be incarcerated.
Like, I'm all for rehabilitation for drug offenders, for example.
Yes,
Like,
absolutely.
especially if you're a non-violent drug offender, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think you should be slapped in prison. I think we should, do exactly, help these people
Yeah.
address the core issues going on. But for sex offenders, dude, like that's, uh, I'm having trouble putting, like, just conceptualizing this. Like, this is too much for me, man. Like,
Yeah. Pedophiles and rapists, let's just line them up and just, put them to the firing squad. That's my opinion. Line them up. Do it like these other countries. It's a little barbaric, but okay. You want to go out and rape people? You want to go out, and if you're a pedophile, oh, okay. Well, your date's on August 24th of next year after you serve some time in a maximum security prison. We're gonna line you up and we're just gonna shoot you. That's it. Like, holy shit, man. Yeah. We are struggling as a country right now. We are truly struggling, excuse me. And our culture, man, we're becoming very desensitized to a lot of things. And it's not good. It's not good.
like, what do you think is, like, I can definitely see, obviously Jeffrey Epstein was incredibly powerful and wealthy and was connected with extremely wealthy people. Do you think it's something as simple as them having so much money and power and being able to influence the politicians and the legislators, that they're just essentially bribing people to get these types of bills passed? Like,
Yeah, totally. I mean, we've said it a bunch on here in regards to politics. It's a big club and we ain't in it. I believe those are your words, and that's so
George
true.
Carlin. Yeah.
There you go. And that's so true. The thing, I mean, you and I have both been around, very, very wealthy people. I mean, I've been around so many pro athletes and artists that are just multi millionaires, and the things that they can request, the
Yeah.
things that they're able to do, and they don't even scratch the surface when it comes to the amount of wealth that someone like a Jeffrey Epstein has, or any of these politicians, that are making these backdoor deals, and just,
It's
yeah,
it's
I
really
think it's a lot of that.
terrifying because, I mean, you can look up the politicians, and I mean, people throw around big names of wealthy people, like, you know everybody knows what I'm talking about there.
Yeah, Bill
Some people
Gates,
say George
Bezos, yeah.
Soros, or yeah, the Koch brothers. The real scary thing is the people that you don't know, that you've never heard of, that are
Mm-hmm.
that are out there operating and influencing these types of decisions being made. Because I mean, there's
Right.
no non-corrupted legislative body that's out there discussing a bill to help sex offenders in that kind of way. Like, there is nobody out there that's doing that that's not from somewhere being paid to do that.
Yeah, they've sold their soul totally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I wish I had some kind of response, positivity. I mean, I got nothing, man. Oh,
Me
it's
neither.
terrifying.
Me neither. Yeah, yeah. Sorry to bring the mood down today, but I I had to speak on that. Like I said, to get one more voice out there, one more opinion on, to me, what should be the winning team, and the winning team should be defeating the sick people who have produced this movie, the sick people who have allowed it to air on Netflix and to be available on Netflix still to this day. You know, um, that should be the winning team right now. And right now, the public, the people who are appalled at this, they're losing because it's still out. Netflix is not making a move. I haven't seen a statement released. Where's your PR team? What's going on here?
And for like, it's hard though, because like, my natural inclination is to say let's vote these people out of office, but there's like, I don't want to get into the weeds, calling out certain politicians, but there's people on both sides. It's not
Yeah,
like you can vote for one party and boom, they're against all this stuff. They might say they
exactly.
are, but
Yeah,
they're like, yeah, I'm not going to bring up specific examples, but everybody freaking knows what I'm talking about. Like, both sides treat pedophiles and extremely powerful and dangerously wealthy people in them.
yeah,
I mean, just take to whatever platform you have to voice your outrage and vote with the almighty dollar, and don't support these type of things. I mean, do we cancel our Netflix accounts? I mean, it sounds like that's the most direct way to make a change, or to at
yeah.
least have our tiny voices heard in some regard in this situation. Like, I can't even point in a different direction other than that.
Right, right.
This, September is Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. So we wanted to talk about, some of these things that impact all of us, um, and kind of shed some light on, the reality of the situation, and, maybe talk about, some of our own personal ways to kind of to get back to the bright side of things. I mean, just, I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about during this conversation, and it's crazy to me how many people I know that are plus or minus 2 or 3 years that are dead, and
Mm-hmm.
most of them, it's got a root in one way or another in some type of mental illness, internal battle, some sort of struggle. Um, whether it's OD or accidental or intentional, or, you know, pretty wide gambit of things. Um, it's just it's a crazy time, and it seems like everybody is kind of struggling, and given what month it is, we just kind of want to have this discussion, and, hopefully, help somebody that's in need, and, maybe give some tools that, like I said, that we use. So I wanted to tell one story real quick about kind of my first experience with this, and kind of what got me into this. Is something that I've been looking into for a long time. Um, so yeah, so when I was a freshman in college, I was on the football team, and when they have recruits come up that are in high school still, and they're trying to show them a good time, they match people with current people on the team so that when you go up for a visit, you're not just like hanging out with the coaches and teachers or your parents or whatever. Like you get a real look into the folks that are attending and on the team and all that. So we would always get assigned to recruits when they'd have big recruiting weekends, and usually they stick you with somebody that plays your position or comes from your part of the country or something, so you have a little bit of common ground there. So I had a couple of recruits, and I was kind of notorious for being a good time, I guess. So we had this kid come up randomly on a non-recruiting weekend, and they were like, Bales, we want you to take care of this guy and give him a good experience. He's a great player. We'd love to have him here. So, show him a good time, yada, yada, yada. So, like I said, usually it's somebody from your part of the country or your position or whatever. So I'm expecting, somebody about my size. I go over to the Sheridan Hotel, and I'm sitting there waiting, and the coach is like, oh, here he comes. And I'll never forget turning around and seeing this kid walk in, man. In comes like the exact opposite of what I'm expecting. You've got this humongous Viking looking kid with like, I mean, 6'3", I don't know how tall he was. He was a big dude. He played D end. He was a monster. And I'll never forget, like, picture a Viking with the beard and long hair, but it was bright red. I'll never forget seeing him come in, just big, goofy-looking, red-headed, gigantic kid. And I'm like, this is the guy that you want me to host this weekend? Like, what? And he was just his name was Owen Thomas. Just, like, the most fun, carefree, like, awesome guy to hang around with. And we did the typical things. We went to Dave and Buster's like we do with all the recruits. I took him to some pin parties, and his brother actually lived in Philly, so he took me to where his brother lived. He ended up showing me some stuff about the city. I think he was from Philly, or at least he was from somewhere in PA, not too far away. So we didn't really have anything to connect on other than like, position or where we came from or anything, but just our personalities really, really clicked. Loved Led Zeppelin and Leonard Skinner and video games. I'll never forget playing him. So he ends up coming. We had a great weekend. He ends up coming to our school. Ends up becoming a starter on our team. Gets elected captain. So
that's a big deal.
Yeah, big deal by his peers. The team, your teammates had vote for the captain. So he was someone that was loved by everybody. And I mean, there was no way he was not going to be. He just had that personality, man. He was a magnet. I'll never forget going over to his place, and I thought I was really good at the game Mario Tennis. And he just absolutely destroyed me. Like, he played with my favorite character. I let him have that, but he aced me like every time with Donkey Kong Serve. Like, I couldn't do anything on this guy. He actually lived a couple of doors down from me. So I lived in a big house with 5 other football guys. And then there was another big group of football guys, like 3 or 4 doors down from where we lived. And it was campus was over here. Our street was over there. So I remember I had just finished my negotiations final. It was my senior year. So I'm finishing up my last semester of college. And I finished up my final. And of course, I've got this huge sense of relief. Like, I think I had another week or something before my next one. So I'm like, I'm ready to go, you know? And I'm walking on our street and I see a couple of his roommates down there. And like, I yelled something to them, like, I don't even remember. And like, I didn't get much of a response. I just turned into my front door and like, I'm elated. Like, okay, one more final down. I'm this much closer to graduation. And everybody was in like a super somber mood. And I mean, ultimately, one of my roommates tells me, "Hey, man, Owen's dead." And I'll never forget the just going from such a high to such a low instantly. And it's still like I didn't really take the time to process it when I was still in school. Like I finished the rest of my finals and just kind of buried it as well as I could. But I didn't know what happened for a long time and ultimately found out that he had taken his own life.
Mm.
And they ended up doing I don't know if it was through the autopsy or if it was a special request or whatever it was, but post-mortem, he ended up being diagnosed with CTE. He was the first non-NFL case that was diagnosed with CTE. So that was a really eye-opening experience for me that first off, it was the first real person that I was close with that had died in general. And then the suicide layer on top of it really hurts to this day. And then of course the CTE angle is it's like it was just so crazy because he was such a fun person to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody loved him. And so I guess my point is like you never know what somebody's struggling with internally. And oftentimes it's the most happy seeming, outgoing people that are struggling. And it's terrifying to me.
Mm-hmm.
And like with the CTE thing, like obviously know a lot of people that played football. You know, you and I have had this conversation a lot, but there's kind of a wide spectrum in terms of some people just absolutely deny that it's a thing. And it's hard because there's so much evidence. And it's just like, I think it's more of a denial, like a fear of admitting that maybe is something wrong with their own brain. Like that's hard to think about.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people struggling that you, like I said, you would never even guess. And with CT in particular, it's kind of, your brain has all these neural pathways that fire and, exchange information going back and forth. And it kind of builds up these blockages almost. Like this is oversimplifying things to the millionth degree, but really can impact people in different ways. But oftentimes you see people struggling to, very rapid cognitive decline, memory loss, struggling with emotions, mood swings, just not acting like yourself. And I mean, just look into any of the CTE cases, like there's the whole gambit. There's an entire spectrum of people's lives being ruined by this. Like Junior Seau, for example, sticks out for me. Like
Yeah.
Junior Seau was a famous linebacker, played in the NFL for years and years and years, had an analyst position, family, seemed like a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he took his own life. He shot himself in the chest with a shotgun. So he was cognizant enough to save his brain for research. And I think in his suicide note, he he wanted his brain to be researched because he knew he was there enough to know he was struggling with something that was beyond his control,
Mm-hmm.
but it was still so overwhelming that he still chose to take his own life. And like that's terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's something that's like impossible. Well, it's not currently a surefire way to diagnose it in somebody that's alive. When you look at the statistics of former NFL players, it's like almost every single person that they study has it. And it's not necessarily something from like one big hit and one big concussion that does it. It's the build up, it's the repetition of these smaller subconcussive impacts. So you could never have had
Yeah.
a diagnosed concussion before and have CTE. And it's particularly like, especially in a child's developing mind, it's incredibly dangerous. So like I started playing football, like that's how we met. We were what,
Mm-hmm.
7 years old?
Yeah, I think I started it at 6, maybe, and then but yeah, we were 7 whenever we met. Yeah.
Yeah. And we had some savage coaches back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of hitting drills.
And they
Yeah.
would scream at you if you didn't hit somebody hard enough at
Mm-hmm.
7 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I've talked, like some of my family is worried that I have CTE and maybe have issues with that. I mean, I don't know. It's like I said, it's terrifying to think about. But I mean, sometimes I mean, I was always kind of a hothead growing up, so I think I'm better as an adult at dealing with the struggles that life throws my way sometimes. But I mean, I'd be lying if I said sometimes I don't feel like something's not right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've never turned violent or anything like that, but I mean, as I get older, who knows? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just it's terrifying for me, but that, like if when we have kids, there's no way I'm letting my kid play football.
Yeah, it's interesting, because my brother says the same. He says the same. I mean, he played, throughout college as well. Um, he's very he believes in it, and you know, I believe in it too. And what really kind of frightens me is the fact that whenever I listen to a lot of people who have researched it, and a lot of doctors that describe just simply a concussion, and how a mild concussion can just go undiagnosed by so many people. And one of the things that stuck out to me that one of the doctors said is, anytime you see stars, like anytime like you see those stars, that's a concussion. Anytime. And I know we've talked about this off air, dude. There were multiple games where I would see stars multiple times in a single game on different hits. And there's certainly a right way to hit and a wrong way to hit. So if you get hit the wrong way, if you hit someone the wrong way, it's even worse. But regardless, I mean, going back to the movie Concussion, I mean, that when he puts, what does he put there in that jar? filled like half with water. I mean, that example there, I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah, just visualizing your brain kind of sitting in this fluid and then
yeah,
smacking something and the impact, like your brain traveling through the fluid and hitting that wall, the inside of your
yeah,
skull. Yeah,
right.
that was a powerful visualization for me as well. Yeah.
Huge, because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh my goodness, like since I was little, and it's probably because, like you said, our coaches, I mean, they just instilled that in us. Like, I mean, you gotta hit, and when you hit, you gotta hit hard. And I was never afraid to hit. I loved it. And as I got older and got stronger, my body started developing, and everyone else, I mean, it's just every year. And then when you get to college, I mean, especially when you're a freshman, you got grown, really grown men. I mean, some of these guys are 23, 24 years old, and their bodies have fully developed. And I mean, these guys are huge. I mean, they are massive, and they're going full speed. And the huge difference too in college is, I mean, you've got guys who are 6'3", 6'4", 230, and they're running 4.6, 4.5 40s at linebacker, and they're coming full speed, given everything. I mean, those are huge blows. Those are huge blows. And yeah, I mean, I think back to all the times that I remember seeing stars, and sometimes too, it wasn't even off of really big hits. I think we'd even mentioned, or I'd mentioned this to you before. My first game of the year, my senior year, I was coming around and laying a block full speed, and I almost like picked this kid up off his ground, and I had him, by his shoulder pads, and whenever I drove him to the ground, I landed on top of him. I didn't think it was a very big hit at all, but I was hype, and I was like, woo, like screaming like right in his face. The ref didn't like that too much. Again, I didn't think it was a big hit, but whenever I got up, I was seeing nothing but stars. I was like, whoa. And that was just, again, that was not a big hit in my mind at all. So even something that small, I was seeing stars.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like it's not even only like big helmet to helmet hits, which are obviously ridiculous, but like hitting your head against the ground, like getting tackled and slamming your head into the ground is
Yeah.
when I got some of my worst impacts. And like, going back to being little kids, like they would make you run, like punish you if you didn't hit somebody hard enough during hitting drills in practice.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about seeing stars, I mean, I don't know, dozens, hundreds of times maybe. I
Yeah.
mean, I played football for almost, you know, over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it was over 100 times. Like, that happens
Yeah.
all the time to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember games where I would like throw up. Like, we thought it was an anxiety response, like getting too hyped up. And maybe, but like, I for sure, like there's no telling how many concussions I had when I was a little kid,
Yeah.
or just going like through middle school and high school even. I remember one time when I was before I was 10 years old, I was playing linebacker. It's might have been my first year ever playing actually. I the offensive team ran a sweep to my side, so I'm on a beeline outside to make a tackle, and the wide receiver lined up wide on that side came back and cracked back to me, and helmet to helmeted me like right at my ear hole. He hit me so hard, his helmet cracked down the middle. Like
Mm.
he was gone. Like he never came back in the game. And like I had been taught in that hard mindset that like you don't show pain, you go back, get your ass back in the huddle, blah blah blah. So like I didn't come out, like I had tears coming out of my eyes, but I kept, like I didn't even come out of the game.
Hmm.
So yeah, man, it's like it's hard for me to watch football anymore. Like football was my favorite sport growing up, but like I said, and basketball is my favorite sport now. I can remember it. I can remember the exact season. My favorite team is the Panthers in the NFL, and it was the season we actually went to the Super Bowl. I like watching our quarterback Cam Newton. Like he's notorious wanting to tuck and run the ball and be more of a running back at the quarterback position. And he's big, so the refs kind of give defenses a little more leeway on beating him up. But like he had gone through a lot of injuries, and it was so hard for me to watch him sit there and get beat the f up every game.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was somebody that off the field was a lot of fun, and you kind of develop, as a fan, these kind of relationships, almost these attachments to these players. And it was like Cam at that point was somebody I kind of looked up to, and you kind of vicariously was able to have fun. He's out there dancing and stuff, and like it was hard for me to sit there like knowing what he's going through and watch and support it, man. Like, and then Luke Kuechly, our linebacker, started having concussions one after the other. Like he had one really, really, really bad one where like he freaked out and kind of lost control and like ripped his helmet off and was like bawling his eyes out and like screaming coming off the field. Like it was terrifying for me, man.
Mm-hmm.
And like ever since that season where we went to the Super Bowl, like starting that season, like I used to have all like multiple fantasy football leagues, and I would sit there and watch NFL Red Zone all day every Sunday during the season. And like I went from being uber football fan to like I don't watch it at all anymore, really. Like
Wow.
gradually year after year, like I'll check in on the scores every now and again, but I like, yeah, dude, I don't watch. It's too hard for me to watch it.
Yeah. 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 And I mean, seeing someone, I was never diagnosed with like a severe concussion. But seeing someone that later got diagnosed with a severe concussion, seeing the way that they acted prior to the diagnosis, right? Seeing that, I mean, I saw it even in high school a lot. And it's crazy. It was very eye-opening. It was very eye-opening. One of our teammates, I mean, at the time, we thought that he was just we thought he was being dramatic and exaggerating because this particular guy had a reputation of doing that sometimes.
And
But
that's
he,
kind of what you're taught. Like it's
mm-hmm.
drilled into you. Like don't show pain, don't show emotion, suck it up and get back out there.
Well, we're in the locker room after the game, and he didn't recognize his father, and he needed help getting dressed. Yeah, he didn't recognize his father. Yeah, he called his father his uncle's name.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. So, and that was again at the time. At the time, we were like, "Oh, come on! Like you're just playing around." But then you saw the look in his face, and that was shocking. It was like, "Whoa!" Like he's really out. Like he doesn't know where he's at right now. like, like I said, I mean, he needed help getting dressed. Undressed and dressed. So, um, yeah, it's scary. It's definitely scary. And this is a good month to talk about this because um, what it can lead to. Obviously, I mean, with it being suicide awareness month, and I've had several friends commit suicide, and one of them, is one of my good friends from high school. We graduated together, still good friends to this day. And his younger brother, committed suicide, and we all played football with him. Um, I played lacrosse with him. Just such a great kid, such a great kid. And it's sad. It's sad. You know, I mean, someone that young, you know, to whatever pressure, whatever he was going through, whatever he felt like he couldn't overcome, it was just so heavy on his shoulder. You know, whatever he was going through, it was so heavy that, you know, he felt the need to do what he did.
Yeah, I
It's extremely sad.
didn't want to, I just kind of wanted to use CTE as an example of, one
Mm-hmm.
type of mental illness that people could be struggling with.
Yeah.
But, it's certainly not by any means limited to people that play contact sports. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up some data here just to kind of give, some key. This is a CDC study from 2018. Well, it was published this year, but the findings were from 1999 to 2018. So overall in the United States, over that 20-year period, the suicide rate increased by 35%.
Hmm.
Um, that's insane to me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I'd love to see it from around 2004 when social media first became a thing with MySpace
yeah.
until now.
So one of the findings is that since 2006, it's increased even more. I forget where that is, and with greater increases occurring after 26 or 2006 here. Yeah.
Yeah, which was the
Uh,
year that Facebook went to all universities across the country.
so in males, after a stable trend from 99 to '06, the rate increased by about 1.6% per year.
Per year. Yeah.
Um, and that's from 2006 to 2016, and then an additional 3.2% from 2016 to 2018. And with the pandemic currently, that's skyrocketing even further. I know we had talked about how in the month of August, 18 to 24-year-olds that were surveyed, a whopping 25% of them had seriously considered suicide within the past 30 days.
Mm.
And I was kind of surprised to see that the rate for males was almost 4 times higher than it was for females in 2018. I kind of figured it would be more even keel than that.
Yeah.
And it was, the rates were higher in most rural counties compared with urban counties for males and females. So, I mean, I think, with that rural statistic, you're looking at people in isolation without as much of a social safety net, friends and, big groups of people that they're around. Like, there's just something about being around people that can help out big time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know I'm kind of introverted and I don't like being around people a lot, but if you're isolated for too long, it can definitely wear down your mental health. And I think we're definitely seeing those kind of threads of society breaking down this year with how isolated we've been. And I think people are starting to really, like, not starting to, have been really deteriorating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I mean, I'm not afraid to, to speak, speak on the matter. I told you the other day, I mean, since I was a little kid, I've just seen a lot of traumatic things. I've just been through a lot of very, just very traumatic things, and I've always had an amazing family around me and an amazing friends group, that's helped me. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have that. But and then as an adult, doing what I do and putting myself out there so much, being an entrepreneur and, Trifection was my third startup, and, getting knocked down, having to start all over again, knocked down, start all over again. Um, and being really in the public eye as a promoter, especially when I was in nightclubs and things like that. And there, I had highs and lows then, but the lows were not as low, and the lows were short lived.
Right.
And now, I put myself in a position to get to where, I had 250 people that counted on me, for a job from April until December, you know, um, through our company, and we were going to be gigging around the entire country, had things going in the right direction, and which was a constant battle, especially with the some of the people I had to deal with. But now that that's all completely gone, and entertainment will be the last to come back. It's been tough. It's been really tough. And like I said to you off air, I've never really been into like Facebook groups, and like, I don't really use Facebook like that often anymore anyway. I use more of Instagram, but uh, I'm in a group of, there's, I think, a little bit over 10,000 people, all in the entertainment industry, across the country. And you have to submit a resume and get accepted into this group. You have to be someone who's legitimate in the business, in the industry for a long time, and have credibility to be accepted. And I'm getting in there and I'm reading some of the comments. I mean, these people are, it's not, obviously it's not just me. It's so many people. And it's concerning to see a lot of the comments, because you're talking about, for example, I read just this past week, there was a guy, he said he had been in the entertainment industry since he was 19 years old. He was full time from the moment he hopped in, and he's 46 years old now, and it's all he's ever done. It's all he knows. And then now everything is just, it's gone. And he went on to further explain, like, he was just openly saying how depressed he was. And, like reading that, I commented on it, and I was like, look, don't hesitate, personal message me. And I kind of told him a little bit of my story, and others, it was like 30 or 40 people that chimed in and try to give him support. I've never really done that, like in a Facebook group. Obviously, everyone's doing things that they've never done before, in dealing with what we're dealing with now. But um, it's been tough, because the lows have been really, really low, for me, and the highs really once I stopped traveling, because it hit me. I'm like, you know what? Like, this is amazing. I mean, even though we've been going through this pandemic, I was still traveling a lot. I was still being careful, but I was also still being around people that I knew. I was meeting up with friends in other parts of the country, things like that. And I mean, they were almost asking you to travel. I mean, some of these flights I were getting for $100 round trip, and I was going, to a beach. But anyway, it just kind of hit me. I'm like, you know what? I just need to stop real quick and just kind of pause, get back home, try to get my feet under me, start looking for a job, and just start really planning for the future. And I had my fun. That was awesome. So I had an amazing time until about like second week of July, and then since then I've just been on the job search, on the job hunt, and it's just like, I mean, there's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. So that's when really the lows have. It's been bad. It's been bad. And again, going back to having that support group and having the family, having friends around you, it made it all better, and it certainly helped. But now being so isolated, if you don't have a very tough mind, and if you can't stay disciplined and keep your mind moving forward, it's easy to get kind of sucked into, just repetitive thoughts of just negativity. And yeah, that's, so I've gone through some stuff myself, but that's definitely been tough. It's definitely been tough. That's one of the reasons why, I love that we've got this podcast going. It's something I can look forward to. And, that's something that I actually commented to him. I said, look, something that I've done is I've, started a podcast, with my friend. And I said, that's something that we kind of look forward to. And like earlier, and the podcast blew off some steam a little bit, and just something positive, just trying to find something positive you can dedicate your time to, to keep your mind off of just the current state of the world. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, this has definitely been something for me to look forward to, and therapeutic kind of forum for me to share some experiences and talk through things and get feedback and try to help and reach other people. So yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And with Facebook is like a double-edged sword, man. Like, you can use it for terrible things. So many people on my timeline are just like entrenched in their own political views, and
Mm-hmm.
they join all these groups that all it talks about is political stuff. And like, I can see them, like, you can see other people's comments on Facebook. I don't know how many people know that, but like, if you're in politic groups all day long just being angry, people can see that. And like, that's so bad for your mental health. Like, it's just that cyclical groupthink mentality, and like, you're in that echo chamber of just negativity and anger all day long. And it's like, dude, Facebook can be extremely helpful if you use it the right way, but it can also tear you apart if you're using it in that kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for me personally, like, when I was going through really desperate financial times, getting on Facebook was really hard for me. And like, tying back into our earlier conversation about just, social media in general, like, people portray themselves some type of way that makes them look like everything is good all the time. And it's not an accurate portrayal of the ups and downs of what someone's life is like. And it was really hard for me to log on and see all these people supposedly doing great when I was struggling. So like, I paused my account for a few months and hit the reset button on myself, and that really helped. But I kind of felt disconnected from some of my family, because like, my family is pretty dispersed. We don't all live in the same city anymore. So I had to kind of like, I knew I wanted to get back into social media, but in a healthier way.
Mm-hmm.
And, I like seeing pictures of my family and sharing pictures with my parents and, my siblings and stuff like that. And like, now, I have nieces and nephews. It's being distant. It's great to be able to see, my brother's kids growing up. Even if I can't be there, I can at least somewhat share in that experience. So, definitely people can use Facebook in the wrong way. And I would strongly encourage everyone to be mindful of what you are letting yourself get into on Facebook, what rabbit holes you're letting yourself get drawn down. And there's different ways you can control what you're seeing. So if you have a friend that's always posting negative stuff, it, irritates, pisses you off, makes you angry, sad, depressed, whatever it is. Some people don't want to unfriend people, which, I'm all for it. If you feel you need to unfriend somebody, go for it. But if you don't want to be that drastic, you can unfollow them. Just unfollow them, man.
Mm-hmm.
And you won't have to see that stuff anymore. And you're not going to get pissed off by something like that anymore. All you have to do is unfollow them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an option now to snooze somebody for 30 days. So it's, this guy's having a rough month and it's kind of rubbing up on me seeing his post. Let me snooze his post for 30 days. And after 30 days, I'll see his stuff again and maybe choose to follow him again at that point, or maybe permanently unfollow at that point. Also, like you were saying with groups can be terrible, like I just was laying out, but they can also be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
And especially in these times of isolation, you can build a sense of community through positive groups, and not saying groups that are just about positivity, because I think toxic positivity is a thing, and that's something that Ann and I talk about a lot. Is there's people that are like, oh, just look on the bright side, just be happy, just stay positive. Like, you can't be positive about everything all the time, and it's unhealthy for you to do so. Sometimes you have to go through and like face the bad things head on. Otherwise, they're going to keep internally eating at you. So I'm not trying to say, all positives, sunshine or roses, but like join some groups that your hobbies are based around, or like for me, some of the ones that have been super helpful. I'm into Stoicism, so I joined a bunch of Stoic philosophy groups. I love it. When I get on there and argue with people, it's arguing about philosophy and different ways to approach life. And like the memes are really helpful and sometimes super uplifting. And sometimes there's sad and terrible, but it's good to know somebody else going through that same type of experience, and it's not just you. I joined a couple of groups about playing bass. I love those groups. I love seeing people in their journey of learning, from being a complete noob to being an absolute pro, and seeing their collections and the art of the different types of basses and all that good stuff. I joined a Star Trek meme group. I love it. It's hilarious. So like now my feed, my time, when I log on and scroll, not just a bunch of people talking smack about the other political party or venting about how bad their life is. It's things that I'm interested in, and I see these other thousands of people are also sharing these interests, and it creates a shared experience, this group bonding that can be very, very helpful. Like I know a lot of people hate Facebook and talk smack about it, but there's a way to use it that can be extremely beneficial for your mental health.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And I mean, that group, like I said, I mean, there's over 10,000 members, and you think that it would be filled with just a bunch, especially people in entertainment, it would be filled with a bunch of nonsense, but actually it's the exact opposite. And that's what I love about it. I mean, there are sound engineers on there sharing what new equipment they just had. There's tour managers on there sharing about experiences or giving warnings about certain venues or certain areas, or hey, we just got this new tour bus, check it out, or whatever, or good food spots to hit if you're on the road, if you're on tour, or this is all this stuff, or there's just so much information. There's also a lot of people helping people and job opportunities on there. It's like, hey, I'm going on this tour over to Europe, and we don't have a TM, or we don't have an LD, or whatever it may be, and people are able to just shoot, and they're asking, like, shoot your resume, personal message me, whatever, So that's something that I've been keeping a close eye on it, because I believe now that, especially with the Big Ten coming back in football, this is a side note, with the Big Ten coming back in football, if we can have a successful football season, that just gets the entertainment industry closer to coming back. I know that's off topic, but so anyway, I've been keeping a very close eye on this group, because of that happening. And also it's like, it's like anything. I mean, I've been doing this since I was 19 years old in some way, shape or form, but it's like anything. If you just completely shut off your repetition, you start to get a little rusty. So it's also kind of helped me just basic terms, I mean, my day is filled with not a lot. So sometimes I forget, like, or not forget, but it's just you don't hear these things, you don't hear certain things, or I mean, that's just so many things. I miss just having a radio, having a radio call, and just anyway, there's just so many things, but
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. And it's like, for me, a lot of my interests, my friends and family aren't really into. So
mhm.
like for a long time, I would post stuff like on my own timeline, and like nobody would respond, and I'm like, what the hell? So it like kind of isolated me in that regard. So it's cool to build these bonds in these groups with like-minded folks. And yeah, man, I can't stress enough how beneficial that's been for my mental health, for real.
Yeah, and for me especially, whenever Facebook started to blow up, and it went public, it's always been a way for me to communicate with my family in South America, and that's always been huge. And just being able to see them post pictures and things like that, because it's very difficult just to pause and give yourself 2 weeks or really 2+ weeks, because to travel down there, it's a long trip, and it takes a lot out of you and stuff. So being able to see them, they're in their kind of day to day, and celebrate birthdays with them and things like that, and chat with them on a regular basis it always brightens my day. And something, a piece of advice I try to give to everybody is, honestly, like, especially if you're not into politics like every single day, and if you don't have a ton of information to back up, if you don't have facts to back up what you're saying, dude, don't post anything political on Facebook. Like, I think maybe in maybe in all my time on Facebook since college, I've posted maybe 2 or 3 things that have been political, and they've just been factual, and I think they've been something where both parties can agree on. Because I just, it's that's a that's a road that I never want to hop on ever,
Yeah.
because I mean, people argue and they get so caught up into arguing about politics on Facebook. I'm like, guys, you're just wasting time. You know, what would be helpful is if you feel that passionate about arguing this point, how about you organize a group, and you that group is people that are like-minded, that are going to recruit more people and head to the polls. Make it something positive. If you feel that passionate about something, or if something's bothering you that much, if it's bothering you that much that Trump is the president, guess what? Organize a group of your friends, organize a group of people, and head to the polls. Head to the polls. If it's bothering you that Biden is going to be potentially guess what? Head to the polls. Organize a group. Talk about it in a group with like-minded people. Don't go online and start. I don't know. I've always
People,
hated internet trolls. I've
people
always
are
hated
so
them.
susceptible to trolls, man. If
Yeah.
you don't know what a troll is, go watch the South Park trilogy about internet trolls. They do a great job of laying out the type of people that are arguing online. Like, some people will
Yeah.
get drawn in to an emotional argument with someone, and the person on the other end has no intention of listening or making a good point. They are doing it just to get a rise out of you
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not a good faith argument. Like, don't get on Facebook and argue with people about stuff like that. Like, there are people out there whose sole intent is just to get you riled up. No matter how eloquent of an argument you're thinking you're making, they're not worried about that. They want to see you pissed off. Their goal is to
Yeah.
make you pissed off.
Yeah. Yeah. They're trying to stir the pot for sure. for
So
sure. Yeah.
so yeah. Anyway, I want to share a couple of other things for me that post college that have helped me along the way. Kind of in my own journey of researching and finding out what's good for me and what's scientifically based to be helpful for people overall. So obviously music. I know a lot of people feel me on that. Music for me can definitely dig me out of a dark place very quickly.
Yes, totally agree.
And I know I turned some people off with my music tastes. You know, I listen to a lot of different music, but I definitely, heavier stuff is my wheelhouse. Um, and like the band Tool, especially, like if I'm having a bad day and I'm pissed off at the world, it's like I'm somebody that really dives into the lyrics. They have a song called "The Patient," um, and it's just about like the guy is worn down from life and he's thinking of giving up, and it's like I'm just gonna wait it out, man. I'm just gonna be patient, just a little bit longer. And it's like, keep your goal in mind. And it's just cool to know that like you can really connect with somebody through their music.
Hmm.
um and it's helpful, along those same lines of knowing you're not the only person dealing with something or going through a set of emotions. So yeah, music has definitely always been a big, probably in my top three ways to let loose, blow off steam, and kind of de-stress. Like I said, when that S&M 2 came out, that Metallica live album about a month ago now, like it just hearing the orchestra start up and play the intro song, like just took me back to a really good place in my childhood. And like I started tearing up, dude. Like I sat there and watched that concert, and like I broke into unprovoked tears so many different times. Like
Excuse me.
sometimes it's just what you least expect will like hit you in that real visceral level and kind of take you to another place. So I highly encourage everyone to explore different varieties of music. Maybe nobody around you is into it. That's okay. Somebody out there is, and you can build a connection through that. I miss the camaraderie and the awesomeness of concerts, but you know, music is still there, even without the live shows.
Yeah, yeah. Totally. Yeah,
Some
these you can't really see them that well, but these two platinum record plaques behind me, these were actually hanging in the Bogart's office for I think a little bit over 2 decades. And one of them says, "Where words fail, music speaks," and the other is simply says, "Music can change the world." And they were doing like a little bit of remodeling in the office there at the venue, and they were offering up like basically everything. And I was working another gig the first day that they started offering, so I was a day late, and those were like two of the only things that was left. I was like, oh man, I had my eyes on so many things that was in that office because that Bogarts, that venue is just filled with so much history. But I'm glad I ended up with those two pieces because it's so true. I totally agree.
Yeah. And I mean, you've got the 311 poster back there, man. Like,
That show was amazing.
I love those guys so much. And it kind of to a gross, addicted level, especially when I was younger. Like, I got made fun of a lot for how much I liked 311. But I think one of the things that I enjoy about them so much is that they always have a positive, uplifting message,
Yeah.
unity and connecting with other people, and, you know, being who you truly are and not trying to fake it as someone else. Like, yeah, man, seeing that poster always kind of puts a smile on my face. Like, I love those guys. I love the message of their music. Yeah, absolutely, dude, for sure.
Yeah, and for this month, it would definitely be a song to listen to. Would be Beyond the Gray Skies for
Up
this month.
100%. Yep.
Yeah, that would be a good one to listen to. But yeah, go ahead with what you're saying. Yeah, I got
No, I
some
love that
classics back
track.
here.
Yeah, Nick Hexum, the lead singer. Actually, he. I mean, I know you already know, but just for everybody, he wrote that song for one of his friends that took his own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very, very great message. You know, one day you'll see the clear blue beyond the gray sky. You know, things may look gray now, but
Mm-hmm.
things will change. They're not always going to be like this. Yeah, great track, man. Thank you for that. Um, I dove into a lot of books and a lot of kind of tough to read scientific type books. So I wanted to talk about a couple that have really helped me, um, and kind of what's the topic behind them. So neuroplasticity is something that I've really enjoyed learning more about. So in your brain, the connections, like, you know, repetition creates a habit, and the more you do something, the better you get at it. And I'm sure everybody's experienced, you know, when you start something new, it's really difficult at first, or can be, and the more you do it, the easier it gets, like playing guitar or driving a car or whatever it may be. So like I was always kind of terrified with CTE and creating these places in the brain where it doesn't communicate the way it used to. That's terrifying. Like, man, is your brain ever going to work the same again? And
Mm-hmm.
you know, there's no research that I've seen that directly correlates neuroplasticity to CTE, but as a concept, basically neuroplasticity is your people used to think that your brain was your brain, and what it's capable of is set in stone, and you cannot change that. And this region of your brain controls XYZ functions, and this region of the brain does this and this. Well, what this says is basically it doesn't necessarily work that way. So there's a book out there that I loved. We'll pull this up here. It's called The Brain That Changes Itself. So, stories of personal triumph from the frontiers of brain science. So this is a scientist chronicling these different stories, of various situations in where people's brains are able to change through like specific training exercises and various techniques. But I mean, at its core, it basically revolves around starting small and relearning in a new way. Like, I would butcher if I tried to give an example of any of the studies in there, but it just does a great job of illustrating that you're not necessarily stuck with where you're at right now. And the way I think about neuroplasticity is like, if you're going to the store, for example, or going anywhere, like say you grew up in a town and you've always gone to the grocery store this one way, and you've been doing it your whole life, and you could probably drive there with your eyes closed. Let's say there's a bridge on the way, and one day that bridge gets wiped out, so you can't go that way anymore. People used to think that's it. Like, the way your brain works is that's it. You're not going there anymore. That pathway is gone. So you can't get from point A to point B anymore. That's a wrap. And basically neuroplasticity is saying that you can find another route there. And if you've never gone to these other streets or this other part of town, you can't necessarily get there on your own on the first try. And it's going to take you a long time to get used to going the new way. But if you continue to do it, ultimately you can build new pathways.
Hmm.
You can find those other streets to get to your destination. And this, as far as the author knows, there's no real limit to how old you are. Like the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you can. And it might be more difficult for one person or another, or it might be more difficult for one activity or another. But you can relearn ways to do things. So like for me, that gives me the ultimate hope of like, just don't give up. Like things might get super hard, but physiologically and biologically, there's ways to overcome, and it will get easier with time. It might be like seemingly impossible the first time, but it can improve over time, and you can find new ways to experience life and improve yourself. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
one of the experiments is like they take a blind person and they stimulate different parts of their body for different, like they make them focus on something and then stimulate a different like area of their back with this sensor thing, and like eventually they can almost see through these sensors. So it's like they're yeah, like yeah, I totally butchered that, but your brain can definitely change, and the more you practice something, the better you'll get at it. So if you don't like the way your brain works, or what's going on in your life, you can make a change. And like I said, it may be difficult at first, but it'll get better and easier over time, and you're not stuck with where you are. So
Yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of it takes a mentally tough person to be able to do that, you know, and it takes a lot. I feel like it takes more than just a decision, you know. And I know we had talked, you know, off air, you know, about this, but that's like my personal experience. It's kind of a good segue. There is, or you didn't have another point, did you? I don't want to
no,
get in the
I've
middle.
just got a couple more books I wanted to just give a shout out to real quick, but you
Yeah.
go ahead and we can kind of wrap up with that.
Well, you know, it's just speaking of, you know, just like mental toughness and just you know, your brain, just you can tell your brain to think. I mean, the brain is so powerful. You can tell your brain to think and train your brain to think a certain way. And I truly believe that. I mean, I experienced it. Um, I experienced it personally because, you know, going back to just, you know, Suicide Awareness Month, right? Which is definitely a big deal to us both. We both have personal stories, and you know, with me, um, I've I have not shared this story a lot. I mean, you didn't even know until I told you, you know, this past week, which is crazy. But you know what I went through. I hit completely rock bottom. You know, I was done with my second startup at the time. I was back into nightclubs for a while and doing well, and then I took a risk and I moved to Mexico. Had success down there. Everything was going amazingly, and then that ended abruptly, and that's a whole other story. Um, but uh, just to give you an idea, it ended with me getting a one-way bus ticket at like 3 a.m. from Playa del Carmen to Cancun to the airport to fly home. That's how it ended.
How
It
long
was
had you
very
been down there?
a while, a while. I'll have to look up the exact timeline. I want to think like 3.5, 4 months, somewhere around there. And I was in a relationship. I was in a relationship at the time, and you know, I've had some pretty wild breakups.
We
um,
all.
yeah. So this is 2014 whenever this happened. And like I said, I was still in this relationship, thinking that, she remained faithful, loyal, those sorts of things. And I was looking back, I was a crazy person for remaining loyal and faithful living in Mexico, especially because there was plenty of opportunities to be promiscuous down there, and I stayed very disciplined and faithful and loyal, because in my mind it's so easy not to do anything. It's just so easy just to say no.
Side note, I just don't, not a believer in long distance relationships. Like, yeah.
Totally. I mean, we had like a year and a half or 2 years already into it, and she was okay with the decision, and I knew it wasn't going to be permanent. Um, so anyway, it is what it is. I'd come back, and I'd come back suddenly, and I did not want to leave that way at all. And I had things going down there, and I just felt like I just got completely cut off from my goals, and all the time and effort that I put into the things that I was doing down there were completely cut off, and they were. So I returned home not very happy, um, and returned to a relationship that was dismal. And I found out that, she had not been faithful, not been loyal, and taken it pretty hard. And looking back, she had definitely done a lot to kind of play with my mind, and, oh well, let's get back, let's not get back. And looking back also, I was silly for even letting her dictate some things, because I have basically like a one strike policy. I've always stood by that. It's like, oh, you cheated, no, I don't forgive you, because you'll continue to do that. It's over. We had a good run. Good luck in life. That's it. Very, very cut and dry with me. And anyway, so I'd come back, and I had, no job lined up. I still had an apartment back home, and nothing, just nothing in the works. No relationship that I thought that I'd had. So I lost everything that I was working for in Mexico, lost everything that I had back home, had nothing new in the works. And on top of that, just had really no direction. And I guess I'd been gone for a while, that, a lot of my close friends like weren't really around. A lot of the people, a lot of my coworkers that were like in the nightclub industry, they weren't really around. And that's when I realized that they're pretty finicky. And that kind of like whole world is a little artificial, but
I think the whole coworker as a friend thing is a tough line to walk.
yeah. But anyway, to get to the end of the story here, I don't want to, drag it out or anything. I was just feeling, very, very low, depressed. And, like I said, there was a series of events that kind of led to that. Just felt very alone. And I returned to a market where there basically was no entertainment at that time, early 2014. And I'd kind of felt like I knew what I wanted to do, but I was just super depressed, and I fell into a hole, and that hole just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And every time I tried to dig myself out of it, I just kept on falling further and further into the hole. And there were a few other events that kind of led, to this, but basically, I had attempted suicide. I had knowingly tried to OD on drugs and alcohol. I mean, I consciously made the decision one day that, it was just too much. And, I tried my hardest, failed. And, thank God I did. And, I said some things, to my mother that alarmed her. And then I just flat out told her, which I vaguely remember, but I just flat out told her that I was gonna take my life. And, if she hadn't acted, so swiftly, and done what she did, obviously, she called, 911, and, went to the hospital, and got a little bit of help, and, and got released. Uh, and that was tough. That was tough coming out of the hospital and just seeing her there. That was really tough. My father was still alive at the moment, but I think he was in disbelief. That's why he didn't show up. Uh, Also, it's a kind of a cultural thing too. He just was very hardened, growing up, and yeah, I just think he was in total disbelief. But it was nuts. And as far as being able to bounce back, there was another just string of events that allowed me to do that, and helped me, to be able to do that. And the first one was definitely seeing my mother. And just the look on her face whenever I came out of the hospital, and I was disappointed. I was just really disappointed in myself, and couldn't believe it because I was raised better than that. And like I said, I mean, I have an amazing family, and so that was definitely number one. I think number two is, my sister, actually, whenever she heard about it, and I think I told you, that she was living in Nashville at the time. She was not. She was living in Atlanta,
Yeah.
and excuse me, but she was living in Atlanta at the time. And she, whenever she heard about it, she came up and she just told me, she was like, uh, "Pack your bags, like you're coming to stay with me." And that was huge because, um, I had the whole drive down there to kind of reflect, and um, just try to put the pieces together a little bit, and just figure out, like, how did I get to that point? Like, how, like, me, because I felt like I had accomplished quite a bit up until that point. I was very happy with myself and with life at that point. I mean, I had just come from a very, I mean, it was like a pure state of like euphoria when I was living in Mexico. I mean, it was unbelievable. And um and I was also disappointed that I let, someone else influence my life so negatively, being my, ex at the time. So there was just a lot of things, and I was just trying to put it together. But I ended up staying with her, I think, for at least like 8 to 10 days. I don't remember exactly. And whenever I returned, my mom and dad basically wouldn't let me miss a lunch or a dinner without them, and just kept a close eye on me, and was just being totally supportive to try to get me back to who they knew me to be. And it's crazy because I don't really remember there being, like I said, like one particular thing that kind of just like, it's, and I've noticed this about myself. It's like almost sometimes there's like a switch that can just be flipped, and then I'll just be back on like just a path of just total determination and productivity, and just accomplishments, and I'm just no one can tell me anything. Like, I'm gonna get what I need. Um, but it was like I said, I think it was more of a string of events that helped me get to a point to where I could finally say, and I've learned this about myself. It's like, is one of the reasons why I chose to be an entrepreneur, is because, most of the people I work for in my life have sucked. Honestly, like they in my mind, they haven't been good. They haven't been good leaders. They haven't been good bosses. They haven't been good to their employees. They haven't treated people with respect. And I feel like I had a ton of examples of what not to do and how not to be. So I wanted to be all the things that they weren't. And that's been a huge motivator for me. And anyway, like it just like something just, it just finally clicked. And, if they wouldn't have like gotten me to a point to where I could just finally, for me, myself decide, okay, enough is enough, because that's really what it's about. I mean, people can tell you uplifting things. People can, which is great. I mean, everyone responds differently to different things. And this is why I'm okay to talk about it, because hopefully it'll help somebody. But, for me, I always know it's up to me. It's totally up to me. And you can tell me everything that, you can tell me everything that's going to help me get to a certain point, and that's all well and good. But ultimately, it's up to me. And it's up to me to decide, okay, enough is enough. Like, I've got to go in this direction, because this is a direction that these, my family and support group, they're telling me. I know they're right. I just got to figure out myself how to get there, because they can only do so much. So I finally got to a point with their help to where I was like, you know what? Enough is enough. I've got to be back being me. And, I love life, absolutely love life. And, it's been rough at times, but after going through that, it's like, man, I never, ever want to go through that again. And I know now that I never will, because, I mean, I just love life, man. I love living too much. And there are so many people that are in such worse scenarios than I was in. And that's why I feel a little bit of embarrassment, because, I was raised better than that. I mean, I've always raised with a lot. I was raised with a lot of awareness of, hey, yes, we have what we have. We're at where we're at. But there are so many people that are way worse off, and there's always someone who's going to be worse off than those people, and just be thankful and grateful. And, so yeah, I finally got in that right mindset again, and was completely determined, and figured out what I wanted to do on my own. And, I think it took me like a couple months. I took up like a couple part-time jobs. It took me like a couple months to really figure it out, and get everything on paper, and get a business plan and things like that. And then, I think December of that year. So December of that year, I started Trifection Entertainment with with some other people. One of my co-founders, and some other people involved. And that's the company that, I mean, geez, I mean, it's you can't help but to look back and just be so proud of what we were able to do. And things didn't work out long term how we wanted to, but it's just crazy to me now, looking back personally, as on the timeline of being in such a deep dark place, to then fast forward within that same calendar year, and all of a sudden I'm throwing concerts with 5,000 people, then 1,000 people, then and I'm starting to I'm starting to change how people view concerts in my hometown. I'm starting to train them on, hey, this is actually cool to go to a concert. This is how you purchase a ticket, and literally train the market on what to do. And also, I mean, we had in a little bit over 4 years, we had over 50 interns, which is what I'm most proud of. 4 of which who are currently in the entertainment industry, and I keep in touch with them to this day. We were able to make such an impact on their lives that they thought that they decided that, what, this is something I love so much, that this is something I want to be a career. And that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And we were able to. I wish I had the exact number. I should have totaled this up, but I mean, the amount of tickets that we sold, over 4 years, the amount of artists that we brought, We threw over 100 shows, worked with over 140 artists, 3 music festivals, and since then, I've, because of that and because of, my knowledge and expertise now, and everything just got elevated. I've been hired to, run different music festivals, and then, what I was currently doing at the time. So just it's, that all of that in like from 2014 to, up until now was sparked by really, me being at the lowest of lows, hitting total rock bottom. And you know, we had a really big event, um, where I I knew I knew ahead of time that it was going to be extremely extremely tough, to even break even on the show. And I warned my partners, and I tried to pull out of the show, and I talked to all the artists. I'm like, this is what we're thinking. It's not looking good. We can have just single shows and, still throw a show with you guys. I was just trying to work out whatever I could because I saw it coming. And, we went on with the show, and I didn't, like I said, I did not want to, but we did go on with the show. And, it happens in the industry. We bombed the show, and that was a very, very low. That was a very, very big low because, we really put our we really hung our neck out there, and it was a bomb. But I mean, I knew it was going to be, and that was even tougher. So I feel like that's another time where I could have easily just fallen back into another hole. And, it's funny, certain things play through my mind. Like one of my really good friends in the industry is one of my brothers, really. He's a videographer, super talented guy. And I was over at his house shortly after, I think like a week after the event. And I was just, kind of, venting a little bit, and I was just super disappointed. And he was like, look, man, he's like, since I've known you, you've always bounced back. He's like, you're going to bounce back. You'll be fine. And it's crazy because like I was feeling super down at that time. And hearing that from him, because he's more of a quiet person, but when he speaks, everyone listens. He's very well respected. It was just super solid guy. And that it's funny because like that's like all it took to hear that from him, because we knew we have mutual, to this day, I mean, we have such mutual respect for one another, but we don't really say it because it doesn't really need to be said. But at that moment, it needed for me, it needed to be said for me. And I felt like he knew that, and that again, just it just kind of sparked it. I mean, that was enough, just that one line for me to kind of kick back into, okay, and if I wouldn't have gone through what I'd gone through in the past, maybe, that could have been a moment where I just kind of spiraled back down. But, I knew that there was no way I was going to get that low again. Just because I did not want to, I did not want to, be in that situation again. And so yeah, that helped me big time. And then the next thing you know, boom, I make the jump and move to Cincinnati and get to a market. And then, I'm working for damn near every venue in the city, and, taking over a company and so on and so forth. So, yeah, it definitely ends in a great way, but, and it's going to continue that way, even though I still go through the lows, highs and lows, obviously, till this day, and I probably always will. That's just something that I've learned how to cope with, in a positive way. But again, I mean, if I wouldn't have had that support, who knows? And that's why I think it's so important for, I try to call all of my close friends as much as I can and talk to them and see how they're doing. And like we said, they won't always reveal it, but if you truly know someone, you're gonna know, if they're having, even if they're having a bad day, you're gonna hear it in their voice, you're gonna see it in their face if you're around them. You're gonna be able to read their body language. I just think it's so important for, people to make it a, make it a goal, or, you know, make it a habit, really, of just staying in touch with people, and you know, just checking up on the people, you know, who you care about, because it's so important. It's so important. And you know, I know we talked off air about this. It's something I feel very, very strongly about. On Facebook, there's so many people. Um, there's so many people who are acquaintances that on Facebook, whenever you know, people pass away, they give this huge tribute, you know, to them on Facebook, this long post, and it makes, and I often wonder, did you ever say any of those amazing things to that person in person? You know, did you face to face? Did you ever? Because you just said a lot of amazing things. That was an amazing tribute. I wonder if they knew that you felt that way. I, I wonder, because you know what? That could have been the thing that helped them get through something. That could have been one thing that just triggered, you know what? I am loved. You know what? I am appreciated. You know what? I do have awesome friends. You know what? There is a lot of life to live. The sun's going to rise tomorrow. You know, and I guess it's different, and you know, it's obviously it's going to be different in every occasion. You know, there was an anniversary of a really good friend of mine who passed away, and he was so loved, but you know, just across the city, and you know, within so many communities, and you know, I had known him since kindergarten. Um, but he was a guy where everyone told him how much he loved him, because he was the life of the party. He lit up every room, you know, and even if you didn't tell him, he's one of those guys where he felt it, you know, and he was one of those guys that kind of fed off that energy. Just a very loving, kind guy, such a solid person. So whenever I look back at like my time with him, or, you know, just reflect on the fact that he's gone, it gives me comfort knowing that I know that he knew that he was loved. You know, I know that he knew that he was appreciated and valued. Um, so that I find a little, you know, comfort in knowing that. But, you know, going back to just the Facebook thing, man, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. Whoever's listening, tell me if you agree or disagree. For me, it's always bothered me, because I know, you know, what I've personally gone through. And, you know, if one of my friends that I haven't heard for in a while, or one of my acquaintances, you know, if I bumped into them, or, you know, if they reached out, or, you know, text or call or whatever, and they said some amazing things, like the very positive things like that to me, probably could have changed the outlook at least on that day. And it's an everyday struggle sometimes. So I don't know. I encourage people to, um, just to express your emotions a lot more, you know, especially the people that you value and love, you know, tell them what you think about them, you know. And especially if you sense that they may be going through a tough time, or if you know that they're going through a tough time, if you know they've just suffered a loss of a family member, or a pet, or, you know, they just got in a car accident, whatever it may be, you know, I just encourage everyone to reach out and express that, you know, love and appreciation, to the people while they're still here on this earth, because you only got one shot. You know, once they're gone, they're gone. And, you know, that's one of the things I told you. So I never want to live with any regret, and I never want to leave anything unsaid. That's two of the things that are, you know, virtues of mine, I guess. So anyway, yeah, you know, that's a part of me. That's, you know, my story. And I feel like it was appropriate to share. You know, it was 6 years ago, but you know, hopefully that story helps someone. You know, I mean, just from that one, like I said, from that one deepest, darkest time that I've ever been through, to 6 years later. And even though we're in this, pandemic, and, my career just got rocked, and, the future is not clearly in sight. I'm still remaining positive as I can be, and determined that whenever we do get back and running, that I'm going to be, in a good position to, to take off and remain positive. It's crazy, the events that have occurred just in that period of time, and all the things that I've been able to do that I would not have ever been able to do, if that day would have went a different way. So.
Yeah, man. I love you, man. I know that took a lot of courage to share that on a social forum like this. So I really appreciate you, sharing that with everybody. And I'm
Yeah.
sure there's somebody out there listening that's gonna have a big impact on them, man. So thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate
for
you,
sure.
man.
For sure.
I just wanted to touch on a couple of things you brought up. First off, you've always been that one of those guys for me, the life of the party. Like, it's hard for me to see you and not smile, or hear your voice and not be happy. So, just another example of, like, you never know what somebody else is going through. And
yeah,
knowing you and knowing the impact that you've had on my life, like, it's tough for me to hear you going through that kind of deep struggle.
it was bad.
Yeah, so just thank you again, man. And a couple of quick points here. It's definitely, life is definitely ups and downs. You said, show your emotions. And I think when you said that, it kind of clicked with me. We were going over the suicide stats and how guys are almost 4 times more likely to take their life. I think that part of our culture is that guys aren't supposed to show their emotions or talk about their emotions, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of build up this rough exterior and kind of bear the brunt of all things, and keep going. And
Right.
I think I think that's probably a big factor in why those numbers are so different.
I
Not
agree.
I had thought about really before now, but that just kind of clicked with me. And yeah, I think that's super important, to just be honest with how you're feeling, and it's know that you're not alone, and that other people go through struggles, and it's, please, if you're going through rough times, reach out to somebody. Don't bottle that shit up, man. Don't be afraid to reach out to somebody, or just put it out there. Like, it's hard to help someone that you don't know needs help. So yeah, that was powerful, man. And I mean, life is definitely ups and downs, and there's gonna be lows. I mean, that's just a part of life. You can't always be on the top. Everybody's gonna go through lows. So having that support there, or having built up a resilience, or the right kind of habits, or an understanding of yourself to be able to respond when those lows hit, I think is very, very important. I don't know if you would call that a skill or what, but just kind of having the awareness of yourself, and in knowing if you're starting to go down that path, and then being able to identify things that you know can help you, like being able to know, oh shit, I'm feeling bad, I need to turn on this song, or call person XYZ, or do whatever it is that you identify as is important to you. I think that's really, really important. And I just want to touch on these. I read a lot of books, like I was saying. I just had a couple more I wanted to touch on. And one It's called Breaking Down is Waking Up. This guy is a psychologist, and basically he uses his years of, working in therapy and experiencing so many different people and so many different stories, and it's kind of a recurring theme with people that he's interacted with that, it's cliche to say the day is darkest just before dawn, but like sometimes sometimes hitting rock bottom is necessary
Mm-hmm.
in order to really connect with where you want to be in your life and be able to move forward and be where you're meant to be and doing what you're meant to do. And I think that's a super important message. Just because things are getting bad for you or you're going through a rough time, that doesn't mean you're on the wrong track. Sometimes that is the right track. Sometimes you have to go through those demons, and I mean, you do. Like, if you have demons, you have to face them head on. You can't hide and bottle stuff up. Like, ultimately that's going to come back to you. And if you can face that, you're one step closer to breaking through and having that awakening. Some people it's spiritual, but regardless of whether you're religious or whatever it may be, like connecting with that version of yourself that's moving forward in a positive way. Just because, like, he calls it the cycle of awakening. You go from the top to the bottom and then back up to the top.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just because you're going through bad things, I mean, don't see that as you're on the wrong path. Life is that way. You're gonna go through bad things. Everybody doesn't go through the same bad things, but everybody does go through downs, and those can really show you your true colors and really show you where you're meant to be and lead you down the path to where you're supposed to be going. So that hearing that from a professional that's in that setting was really powerful to me in a time when I was going through a really bad time. So just another thing I wanted to point out, that's just because things are bad right now doesn't mean they're always going to be bad, and it doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. You might be doing exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And then talked about music, and just talked about the science behind being able to change. That was, for me, very uplifting. The last thing I wanted to bring up is something that people often see as very vain, possibly. Exercise, getting up and being active. Some people work out because they want to look better, or they might have, there are people that use it for vain means, don't get me wrong, but I read this book called Exercise for Mood and Anxiety: Proven Strategies for Overcoming Depression and Enhancing Well-Being. So you've got two PhDs here that have also, they're cognitive behavioral therapists. And I had always subconsciously kind of known, like, being an athlete, I have to keep working out. Like, I have to stay active, and I always feel better after I work out. And I know we had talked about that. Like, sometimes it's impossible, and I don't at all want to go get up and move and, just sit there and be lazy and draw the shades and wallow kind of and feel sorry for myself. And like, my gym is, like I said, the next door over is where our home gym is. And sometimes it's hard for me to just drag myself in there. But I have never once regretted going and working out in terms of its benefit for the way I feel. Like, it's like clockwork, man. I throw on some loud music, I get active, get a little sweat going, and it completely changes my temperament.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically what these guys do, they've kind of experimented with what works and what doesn't work, and they kind of do a comparative analysis of different therapeutic strategies and their effect, and what they ultimately conclude is that targeted exercise can have results equivalent to and even surpassing what you can get from pharmaceutical drugs. So, and it's not just like you don't have to go out and kill it and like set a PR. You don't have to have any kind of goals that are necessarily like, oh, I want a 6-pack, or I want to run a 6-minute mile, or it doesn't have to be anything like that. Like, you rethink what you associate exercise with. And basically they were taking people and prescribing activity instead of drugs, and they were getting incredible results. So like if it's somebody that has never been active before, you know, they're big on journaling how you feel. So, you know, if you're feeling anxiety, you know, write down, you know, what might be bugging you, or if you don't know, just kind of, you know, what your feelings are, and then recognizing those points where you're feeling that way and going for a 30-minute walk. Something as simple as taking a walk, it changes the chemistry of your brain, like on a fundamental level.
Yeah.
And can completely change your life if applied in the right way. And like I said, I'm not talking about like going out and joining like a CrossFit gym and killing yourself every day. If you want to do that, that's awesome. And I think CrossFit is a great way to build community and make friends and have that camaraderie and that support system. If you're at that level athletically, or if you're brave enough to do something like that, absolutely go for it. But it doesn't have to be something that drastic. And like I've tried to take a more of a long-term health approach to my exercise routine these days. My body kind of broke down doing, you know, powerlifting in college, and my joints and my back and my hips and my knees and, you know, all of the above kind of got to a really rough point to where my body doesn't respond to lifting weights anymore. But I make activity a part of my daily routine. It's one of my dailies that like it's a non-negotiable for me anymore. Like, and I can tell if I go for more than 3 days without breaking into at least a tiny sweat, like I'm irritable, I'm easily agitated, like I don't deal with stress or setbacks or frustrations as well as I do if I, you know, gotta run in the morning. So I just want to encourage everybody to, you know, even if you've never been active, or if you have health issues that would prevent you from, you know, one activity or another, experiment with some way of getting up and moving around. It, you know, it could be playing tennis, or going on walking your dogs, or swimming, or jazzercise, or, you know, whatever it is. Yeah, even if you're not motivated by losing weight or getting a 6-pack or whatever, like try it out. It can have a huge benefit in your life. I know for me, that's my number one thing that's, like I said, non-negotiable for me anymore, is I have to stay active. And it's not for aesthetic reasons. It's purely for the mental and like the obviously like cardiovascular health and things like that. But like it decreases your chances of dementia, even like your long-term brain health. It improves your memory and cognitive abilities, your overall mood. Highly, just I cannot stress enough how important it is to get up and be active.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, she's, you know, if this year would have gone, if this year would have been a normal year, I mean, I would have been constantly on the move, on the road, you know, already hit X amount of events, and you know, at these places we're constantly moving, lifting things, moving things. I mean, that's another reason why, I love, what we're doing, pushing cases or whatever it may be. Always being active and, losing that, it's been rough. But yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, every time I think what you said is really good. You say you've never regretted a workout. That's so true. I've never regretted a workout in my life, ever.
I've regretted
Um,
not working out plenty.
plenty of times. Yeah. But yeah, that's it's so true. I mean, I always feel so much better when I'm up and I'm moving around and I'm doing things. And even if it's just running errands or going to the grocery or, just getting stuff done and then going for a walk. I mean, just cleaning the house, whatever it may be, just getting up and moving and getting moving around. That helps so much. And you just got to force yourself to do it. That's another, like I told you the other day, that's been a difficult thing. Like going through just a really low. And I'm just like, I don't even feel like clear, like getting up and walking to the kitchen. It's like, wow, like this is bad. You just got to force yourself, like literally roll out of the bed onto the floor so you can get up.
And
Yeah,
I think one area where like a lot of people struggle is they set an athletic goal and they have a workout routine and it's like, oh man, today's leg day. Like, oh, I don't want to deadlift heavy or
yeah,
like they've built up this plan that kind of prevents them because of the degree of difficulty of it. And it's like some days you have to take a lazy day, but get yourself up and move at least. Like
yeah,
I'm going through a workout routine now where like I've got everything planned out and I feel that way sometimes where I'm like, oh, I don't want to do X, Y, or Z, but I'm gonna half-ass it today, but I'm still gonna get myself up and in there and doing it. And
yeah,
9 times out of 10, I end up, perking up by the time my warm-up's done and I do it at, the level I had planned. But I went into it thinking, oh, I'm just gonna be lazy with it today. But even if you're gonna be lazy, like go do it lazy. It's gonna help you.
yeah.
It's gonna be very beneficial for your mood and your body's ability to respond to stressors. Um, so yeah, just wanted to make that point before we wrap up here. Been super helpful for me. Um, so yeah, I mean, key takeaways for me: obviously, stay active. Listen to some music if that's your thing. If it's not, maybe experiment a little bit, but it's not for everybody. Um, join some groups with like-minded folks. Um, be honest about the way you're feeling. Don't be, put your pride and your ego aside, because everybody goes through these things. It's natural as a human to have highs and lows. And when you're going through lows, don't run away from it. Be honest about it. Reach out for help if you need it. Um, yeah. Anything you want to add, one?
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with all that. Not really too much to add. I just feel like reaching out to people. Something I encourage people to do is, um, especially now, so many people have so much time. I mean, it's funny because there are some days where I'm super slammed, even though there's really not much going on. So I get that, but on a day that you have not much going on, I encourage everyone just to try to rekindle an old relationship, an old friendship, maybe not a relationship, so much, but, just an old friendship, check in on people, call a family member, see how they're doing, take a genuine interest in, what other people have going on and, you know, listen, listen to people. There are a lot of indicators, but like I said, if you know someone very well, you'll be able to tell, if they're having a bad day or if they're going through something, if they're upset. So yeah, I mean, I would just like I said, I try my best to keep in contact with everyone that's close to me as best I can, and it definitely means a lot. Being on the receiving end of it, it definitely means a lot. So again, I just encourage everyone to try to do that. And this month would be a perfect month to do it, with it being, suicide awareness and, prevention month. So.
And not only when you're down, if you're feeling
Yeah.
yourself, if you're on one of those highs,
Yeah.
reach out to somebody and try to spread some of that great energy, because that's going to
Oh,
rub
yeah.
off on people too, for sure. And obviously don't be afraid to go to therapy or counseling or whatever you need. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's something we didn't really talk about, but it's, go to if it's okay to go to therapy. Like, it's kind of the strong move to be able to admit and go talk to somebody that's a professional. So,
Right.
you got that, that's kind of the obvious one. There's also hotlines and numbers to call, 24/7. There's always somebody out there that's willing to help. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes, swallow your pride or ego or whatever it is, and just, there's other people out there, and, things are going to get better.
Yes. Yes, they will. Yeah, we'll definitely have to drop the 1-800 number, the suicide prevention number, like the awareness number, in the description below. And as always, anyone who's out there listening to us, we appreciate you. Tell us what you like, don't like. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button, ring that bell, and we appreciate you all. And for me, it's all peace and love. All peace and love.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.